Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be back with you this evening for another quick introduction of another one of our Serenity Women's Writing Retreat speakers that is going to be with us in April. Our retreat is from April 8th to the 11th, I think that is. But the Serenity Women's Writing Retreat that's taking place in Cambridge, Maryland. Is it Cambridge, Maryland? I always get that messed up. Cambridge, Maryland. Yeah, Cambridge, Maryland, April the 8th through the 11th. So if you're not already signed up, I don't know what you're doing. Few spaces left. Catches. So I just want to come on and introduce you to Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson. She's going to be one of our presenters in April, and we're just going to chat it up for a little bit so you can get a chance to hear about her, what she does, her writing journey, and all of that. And then lastly, what she's going to be sharing with us at the Serenity Women's Writing Retreat in April. So welcome, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited when you availed yourself to be one of our presenters at the Writing Retreat, because you have quite an extensive background as a writer as well. And so I want you to share a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your writing journey, and we'll start there.
Okay. Well, most people say that they started writing when they were young, but I actually did. I actually wrote books when I was 12 years old. I just never did anything with them. And writing has always been a part of me. So I always did well in English because I could write and I enjoyed writing. But I didn't actually really start taking writing seriously until I got to college. I was on the campus newspaper. And then when I wound up leaving college to join the military, I wanted to do something that I could still use my talents. I know my talents did not come with fighting in the infantry or anything like that. So when I found out that there was a journalism career field in the military, I said, "Oh wow, that's exactly what I do." So I got to do that. I became a military journalist. I wrote for the base newspapers. I worked with the community. So the Army actually gave me the background that I have. And then while I was in the Army, that's when I decided I wanted to write fiction. So in 2007, I began writing, but I didn't do, 1997. Oh my goodness, I'm old.
Club. It's all good.
I know, right? I'm like going back. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was before the 2000s.
Yeah.
So in 1997, I actually wrote my first book, but I didn't actually publish it until 2003, and that was my book, Cheating in the Next Room. That was my very first novel, and basically that story was about a girl who has the whole world wrapped around her finger. You know, she's gorgeous, she's sassy, and she feels like she can get anybody she wants, but she sets her sights on an unavailable man who just happens to be married to her cousin's best friend. Ooh. So when everybody finds out about this affair that happens, because she did what she had to do to get him, and she got him. But when everybody finds out about this affair, it affects everybody around them in a different way. And that's really what the story is about, how this one discretion can wind up having a ripple effect and affect everybody around you. So that's what Cheating in the Next Room was about.
So just real quick, why do you think it was so long from the time you wrote the book to the time you actually published the book?
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
So were you like perfecting it along the way? Were you going back to it, rewriting, and all of that was going on in that time?
Yeah, in some ways I was kind of writing it and perfecting it. I would put it away. Sometimes I would give it to friends to read. But I really didn't know how to get published. I was just writing a story. And when I decided I really wanted to try to go somewhere with my writing, I believe it was maybe 2002, 2003. My daughter had been born already, because throughout this time I'm married, I'm still in the military. Yes, I became a mother in 1999. Life was happening, so I would just pick the book up every once in a while. But when I finally started meeting people who were in the writing industry, and I started joining, at that time there were listservs. We didn't have Facebook and Instagram and all of that. We had listservs. And I'm not even sure how I even got involved in them. I think I may have just found some and just decided I wanted to join them. And that's what I did. So I got into these listservs, and I've met some people who are still friends to this day. People like Yolanda Johnson, William Frederick Cooper, people like that. I met them through these listservs. And then one day I was kind of learning from them because I hadn't written a book and a lot of them had already written.
Yeah.
And one day somebody posted something about a publishing company that was looking for new authors. And I was like, oh, this might be my chance. So I went and looked up the publishing company, and I realized they had no Black authors. So I went back to my friend. I said, are you sure they would want somebody like me? Because they don't have any Black authors. She said, well, all you can do is try. And I did. And they were very excited to have me. It was a company called Jada Press. And then later on, it turned into Jada Star. But they were very, very welcoming to me. I was their first Black author on their label. But it wound up being good. I learned some things from them. I found ways I could refine my story, because I think, like most people, when we decide that we want to be a writer, what we do is we think that the books that we've read are the building block or the milestone. So what we do is like, okay, well, I've read all these books and this is how they were. They had a bunch of sex in them. They had a lot of cussing in them. So that must be the way to do a book. And that's the way my book was. But this company actually helped me to refine that. And it wound up getting some attention. I mean, I was actually stationed in Egypt at the time that this book was finally published. Yes, I was still in the military.
Okay.
And I was stationed in Egypt when I finally got my first book published. And they actually gave me a cover for the book. And it was a beautiful cover.
Wow.
So, so that's where I went, and that's what really started my writing journey. And then eventually I broke off from Jada Press, but I still always give them a lot of thanks and a lot of kudos, because they were the ones who helped me to get my foot into the door, into the writing industry. And I love them. I need to look them up to see if they're still around. But yeah, it was actually them who got me in. And then later on I did meet Carl Weber, and eventually I wound up signing under his label. I was with I think he had Urban Renaissance at one time. Then I went to Urban Soul, to those different ones, and then eventually I'm still in the military. I'm getting deployed overseas, and I'm going all of these places, and I'm getting interviews. People were interviewing me, and book clubs were talking to me from my deployed location. Wow. But I finally decided I wanted to pursue my doctorate, and my writing had to take a back seat, because I was like, I have to finish this doctorate. So I actually I didn't take a step all the way back from the literary industry, but just enough so I could start concentrating on my doctorate. I did publish another book, a book called Twilight, which was about a young woman, a teenage girl, who gets involved with an older man, and he rapes her brutally. And it's really about how she was able to rise above what happened to her. So the book is all about teenage sexual assault and the after effects of what happens or what a young woman goes through when something like that happens. And I'm glad that we're talking about it right now, because February is Teenage Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Wow. And whenever February comes around, I think about that book, because I mean, people may not notice, but a lot of my books really do deal with abuse. Abuse is not always physical abuse. Abuse can be sexual abuse. It can be mental abuse. And often the characters in my book go through those things. In my book that I wrote called A Dead Rose, this young woman she eventually had physical abuse, but she went through a lot of spiritual abuse, mental abuse, and it really affected the way she saw herself and the way she carried herself. She wanted love, but didn't know how to find that love. And with Twilight, This was about, as I said, a young girl who went through sexual abuse. And I do that because I just want people to know that abuse is not always physical.
Yeah.
And just because you may not be getting hit over the head does not mean that you may not be going through something. So I try to use my characters to illustrate that. I
Mhm.
always think of my writing as my ministry. So many times, a lot of the things that I do, I always want to make sure that I'm writing in a way where people will really understand what's going on. They can really connect with the character and see some things in themselves that they may see in that character,
Yeah.
and maybe learn something from it, but without being preachy. I don't want my books to ever be preachy. So that's what I do. I've always considered my writing my ministry. So I, even in the book that I'm about to release on Monday.
Oh,
Um,
it's coming out on Monday.
yes, on Monday I have an anthology. I actually published my first anthology. I brought 11 authors in. Some of them are established authors, and some of them are brand new authors. They're going to be published for the very first time because
Yeah.
of this book. But the book is called A New Renaissance,
Oh,
and
yes, ma'am.
I named it A New Renaissance because 100 years ago we had the Harlem Renaissance, and now, I mean, and think about what the Harlem Renaissance did. The Harlem Renaissance really kicked off a love for the arts. It kicked off a love for literature, poetry, so many things, music. And what I wanted to do 100 years later, literally 100 years later, was to bring authors together and start a new renaissance, because we're right now in a time in our world where we are beginning to love writing again.
Oh, yeah.
We're beginning to love poetry again. And it's not a nerd thing. It's not a trying to be white thing because you read thing. So we are in a new renaissance, and that's the reason why I named the anthology A New Renaissance. And the stories in the book are beautiful. So many different types of stories, and I'm going to talk about it on Monday. I'm going to have a launch party, a virtual launch party, and we'll be talking about it
I'll be
there.
watching.
Thank you.
I'll be watching. You know, I love the anthologies. Love, love, love the anthologies.
Oh, well, you will definitely love this one.
Yeah.
And as I was talking before about how I always want to kind of give a message without being preachy, even in the story that I have in this anthology, there are a number of lessons learned that my character goes throughout the story that you're going to be yelling like, girl, what is wrong with you? Why did you do that? And like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll think about that next time I'm out. Little things like that. That's
Mhm.
what I always want to be able to do. I call myself writing real fiction for real people. I don't put a lot of drama in for drama's sake. I don't make these crazy scenarios. I like to write straight up because I want people to really connect with my characters and see a little bit of themselves in each character in the story.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Thank you.
Our attendees are going to be so blessed. Our speakers are on fire and have so much, just a wealth of experience and experiences to share from, and for our attendees to learn from you all. And so I'm just super excited. It's getting closer. You know, now is the time, all the prep work is going on. So I'm super excited, and I'm just so happy that you're going to be joining us. So tell our attendees and our viewers who may be still considering whether or not they want to join us, what is it you're going to be teaching about at the retreat?
Well, I've decided to do a presentation on telling your story.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because and you've probably seen this before as well, being in the literary industry yourself, you tell somebody that you're a writer, and the first thing they say is, oh, I thought about writing a book. Well, what are you going to write about? I'm just going to write about my life. and and this sounds so cruel, and I promise you I don't mean it to sound cruel, but everybody doesn't want to know about your life. So we've got to find a way. If we want to tell our story, we have to find a way to tell our story, but at the same time make it so people understand. Or what message do you want to give? What are you trying to get across? And then you also have to think about, am I telling my story because it's going to be a catharsis for me? You know, is it going to be therapeutic for me? or am I writing this story to make money? And
You have to
unfortunately,
know
many
what
people,
your why is. Yeah.
exactly. And unfortunately, many people who want to tell their story are probably not going to sell a lot of copies of their books because they haven't decided what their message is going to be, and they
Right.
haven't developed a platform.
Mhm.
It's hard for me
That's
and you to
big.
decide we're going to write our story if a lot of people don't know us. People like Kevin Hart can go to the New York Times bestseller list because he has a platform before he decided to write. Steve
Absolutely.
Harvey, Bernie Mac, these people had huge followings and then
Yeah.
decided to write their stories.
Mhm.
So for us little folks, if we're going to write a story, we've got to write it in such a way that's going to capture people's attention. One example that I use is a book called A Piece of Cake by a lady named Cupcake Brown. It's a story about her life,
Mm.
and it did very, very well. But the reason why it did very, very well is because she was a very successful attorney, and you would never believe the things that she went through
Wow.
before she got to that point of being a successful attorney.
Mm.
I'm talking going into the foster care system, being sexually abused, getting addicted to drugs, joining gangs, being alcohol, and she was basically doing drugs with her dad.
Wow.
Um, so that's what I'm saying. She had all of these things going on, and then when you look at her now compared to what she was back then, you would never believe it. And that was the way she was able to tell her story, and the story did very well. But I know I'm not saying, and I don't minimize anything that anybody has been through,
Mhm.
but you've got to be able to give people a what's in it for them.
Oh
If,
yeah, always.
if I am going to write my story about my trajectory through the military, that might sound like a great story to me, but why should the people who don't even care about the military, why should they care? Why should the people who are going through their own journey through the military, why should they care? And I think a lot of times we forget that why, we forget that what's in it for me factor. And
Yeah.
all we want to do is just tell our story.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those are
Uh,
some of the things that I want to be able to talk about.
awesome. And you're gonna talk a little bit about writer's block too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one
All
quick,
you guys that are struggling, like, what do I do when I'm stuck? Just
yeah,
working on
I'll tell
that
you
too.
one quick tip. If
Mhm.
you are stuck, close your computer and walk away.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy,
Mhm.
but staring at your computer screen is
You're not
not
gonna
going to
make
help.
those words come. That
So,
is so
yeah,
true.
so walk away, take a walk, go to the gym, watch TV, do something, get your mind off of the story. And then when you come back with fresh eyes, you're going to
Mhm.
know what to write.
Absolutely. That's a good one. That's a good one. So I'm looking forward to all of this. I'm looking forward to you being there with us. Our guests are just going to just be so blessed because they will be able to tap into you guys, ask questions, hear you share more and more and teach a little bit. And then they're going to have opportunities to write and get critique and roundtable and all of that.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I'm just really looking for the fabulous place that we're going to be staying right off the water. It's going to
I'm
be
excited about that. I mean, that will
yeah,
help you to write. Go look at that beautiful water.
location. Exactly. Exactly. You got the, a little bit of woods, you got the water, it's
Yes.
a nice house. It's just going to be fabulous. So I'm so excited. So thank you so much for taking some time out to just come and share with our audience and to share with our attendees that are already signed up. I'm so excited about that. And they are ready to, they're getting their PJs ready for the poetry and PJ event we're going to have on that Friday night. Just so much fun. We're going to have
It's
some.
really fun.
They know me. The people who rock with me for a long time, when I do like event stuff, they know I go a little bit cray cray because I just love doing that kind of stuff. So it's
Cray
going to be
cray. I'm
amazing.
looking forward to the cray cray.
Yeah, we're going to have all the cray cray. So I'm so excited. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to, are you bringing cookies for real?
You want me to bring some
You
cookies?
bring cookies? Don't your husband that bring the cookies? Somebody's
Well,
husband's bring
yeah,
cookies.
he's my boyfriend, but he is the cookie
Oh, your
man.
boyfriend.
Don't be
All I know,
it into existence. He's gonna ask sooner or later.
all I know is you was on there talking about some man that had cookies and you was showing the cookies. And I'm like, can you bring some of those to the retreat? Because they look so good.
Oh, he is amazing. His cookies taste so good.
They look good, whatever you had on your
so many
plate that
different
day.
flavors. He even has vegan cookies.
Oh yeah, bring some of those too. I think
Gluten-free
somebody is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's amazing at what he does. His name is Mr. Crave's Cookies.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, well, I don't know why that just popped into my mind. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, the man with the
there will be cookies at the retreat.
Yes. With a whole lot of other good food too, because we got chef.
Yes. Amazing. I like good food.
Food will be on point. Trust me. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. You can go to www.laboopublishing.com and you'll see the writers retreat there with all the details. If you want to see what we're going to be up to, see what things are included in the retreat, it's going to be a blast. And thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, for joining us on tonight. And I look forward to seeing you in April at the Serenity Women's Writing Retreat.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yes. All right. Well, good night, guys. I'll be back, I think, next week with our last presenter that I'll be sharing with you guys on next week. She's going to come on and talk to you guys as well. And so I can't wait to share with you who that is. Yes, an amazing lineup. All right. That's it, guys. Take care, be blessed, and have an amazing night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.